On this day, 14 years ago, Skyrim was released. I was but a child then, and as is the case with many people, it was the first Elder Scrolls title that I have ever played. I still remember my very first character on the Xbox 360. She was a Bosmer named Amber. And, you know, as a child, I didn't really have much of an idea of the concept of roleplay, even though I had technically been doing that at every opportunity, with or without friends, on every game I had ever played. Because, I don't know, I guess it's just in my nature to play pretend and to get really, really into it, but I didn't consciously understand what I was doing. That led me to, you know, having a basic idea of what I wanted my character to be. I knew I wanted her to be some kind of a huntress, mercenary type character who dual wielded axes and shot a bow from a distance. And sometimes also dabbled into some basic magic because the game was new. I wanted to try everything out. I had never played anything that granted me so much freedom before. And I believe I have already commented on this before, but my first vivid memory of playing Skyrim was when I got to Riverwood. I had my bow, I had some arrows, and my first thought upon seeing a deer was, can I kill it and make a living out of selling its parts? You know, like a hunter. And the answer was yes. I was surprised, I was marveled at the idea that a game that was an RPG, which in my head was just any game with stats and levels and, you know, classes, would let me go and do something other than dungeon delve and hoard loot and become strong through traditional means. I was enthralled by the idea of being just a common person who lives off the land, and that being a valid playstyle that the game let you pursue. Of course, that's not what I ended up doing. I proceeded to spend the next 250 hours only on that character, doing literally everything possible without any regard for character consistency or roleplay, because the childlike wonder of experiencing a world for the first time, which gives you so much freedom, it superseded my instincts for character consistency. It superseded my instincts for a good story, for letting the game just guide my hand and let my creativity fill in the gaps. because I had never experienced anything of the sort before. It was such a powerful feeling at the time that I actually had difficulty even starting other characters. And whenever I started another one, I would just go back to Amber. Uh, this all ended whenever my Xbox decided to croak and never turn itself back on again. And for a very long time, I didn't play Skyrim, I didn't play any Elder Scrolls title, because I had no means to. I didn't own it on PC, and I was on my teenage years at that point. I was kind of trying to fit in with my circle, and I had that idea in my head that you're just fuck. Oh, gods. Oh. I accidentally killed Eric with a well-placed arrow to the back of his neck. Oh my gods. Oh, that's gonna haunt my character for a while. Well, let's bottle up these feelings and continue. I'll process this emotionally in character later. But my hiatus from playing Elder Scrolls did not change my love for the franchise at all. In fact, it wasn't even that much of a hiatus at all, because I kept being involved in the community under other alliances that I will not be sharing, of course, and places that I will also not be sharing. And I kept enjoying it, I kept learning, and I kept being fascinated by the world of Tamriel. I learned about Oblivion, I learned about Morrowind. Surprisingly, I didn't learn about the other games, such as Daggerfall and Arena and the other ones, until later in life. But you know, I was aware of these things, and uh, no doubt it has influenced me greatly as a person, because once I finally got the chance to play Elder Scrolls again, which was when I acquired a Nintendo Switch, and I bought Skyrim there, I I was playing it very differently than I did the first time around, because I had matured since then, and I was finding a lot more enjoyment in actually role playing and being part of the world than in simply playing the game. And upon reflection, this has shaped my approach not only to storytelling as a hobbyist writer and world builder, but also as a game master whenever I decide to DM for my friends. It has changed my approach as a player whenever I am playing at somebody else's table. And it has generally changed how I see fiction and fantasy as as things, right? It changed how I see fiction as a concept and how I see fantasy as a literary genre. And I'm pretty sure that Elder Scrolls has had its hand in my deep interest in strange and weird stuff and religions from around the world and esoteric concepts that most people would probably raise an eyebrow if they heard me talking about it. So, in a way, oh, oh, he's alive. Okay. So, in a way, I owe a great deal of who I am to having played Skyrim for the first time all those years ago. My taste in fantasy, even, is greatly shaped by Elder Scrolls. Uh, to the point, actually, where, ironically, uh, Dungeons and Dragons mildly irritates me with how ubiquitous it is, at the expense of other more interesting fantasy settings. I'm not I'm not trying to shit on Dungeons and Dragons, by the way. I enjoy it. I think it's a fine baby's first fantasy thing. It has also given me an appreciation for small things, for patience, or taking things slow, and actually inhabiting, this fantasy world that we have been gifted by Bethesda. A lot of my favorite moments playing any Elder Scrolls title are like what you're seeing right now. It's me wandering throughout the wilderness in search of some objective that I have no idea exactly where it is, but the game guides me there because these games are built with emergent mechanics. They're built with system mechanics that generate emergent narrative, emergent situations uh, as a result, as they interact with the player and the player interact with them. I realize I'm repeating a little bit of what I said on my first video, but I feel like it's relevant to say it here again because this here is it's my way of paying respect to Skyrim. I feel like Skyrim is a deeply misunderstood game. People, like to shit on it. It's become trendy to shit on it in the past few years, I suppose. When the game came out, everybody loved it, but now everybody hates it, and I think that's lame. I think that's very, very lame because it's not like the game has changed. Creation Club content aside, of course, but it's still the same game fundamentally that we have enjoyed all these years. And it still carries fundamentally, despite all of the watering down of its mechanics, it still carries the Elder Scrolls DNA within it, which is to have a world where you are just a small part of it, and you are intended to not necessarily follow any particular narrative, but to weave your own stories out of it, to create a character, know exactly who they are, and live out their life. Act as they do, think as they would, and feel what they feel. And just let whatever happens shape your character. Whether you like to play with permadeath or not, whether you play vanilla or modded, the essence is still the same. It's why I say that I love Morrowind in the exact same way that I love Skyrim. They are my favorite games for the exact same reasons. Even though they are quite different in how they approach the goal of giving the player a canvas in which they can paint their own picture, giving them a paper and a pen for them to write their own stories. And I feel like people get so hung up on mechanics and whatnot that they forget that the real essence of role-playing, of RPGs, as it has been ever since the days of old school Dungeons and Dragons, is simply to create a story, create memorable moments, and have something to tell later to people who share your passion, instead of, you know, uh, having the exact same experiences countless other people who have also played the game, as is the case with many other, dare I say controversially, lesser RPGs perhaps. And I don't mean lesser in terms of quality, but in terms of where they are positioned in the RPG spectrum, of course. Right now I'm in search of silver. I'm playing Finn. She's a scout, and for her this means that she goes around, she knows the land, she does things that are too dangerous for the average person to do. She's no mercenary, she is no killer. She doesn't like killing, but though she will kill people if she has to. But her deal is it's hunting, it's mining, it's foraging, whatever people need. And she just wants to be a contributing member of the community. Eric's death there was extremely tragic. I'm actually feeling a little bit sad about that. But I digress. Um, I realize that perhaps my way of seeing this is very niche, but I feel this is the way these games have always been intended to be played ever since Daggerfall came out. Whenever people say that Skyrim is as wide as an ocean but as deep as a puddle, I can't help but think that this is inaccurate. Skyrim is indeed as wide as an ocean, but it is as deep as you make it out to be. The richness of experience I've had from both vanilla and modded Skyrim and Morrowind, but this is a video about Skyrim, I should stop mentioning Morrowind. I just love Morrowind, I'm sorry. I love Elder Scrolls as a whole. You know, the richness of experience I've had playing Skyrim is deep and complex, just as much or even more than, you know, other titles that people praise so much for their richness and complexity, such as Baldur's Gate 3, you know, Mass Effect, Dragon Age, and other such games. I just think, oh my god, so I'm dying. I drank a potion of resist fire by accident. Okay, I need to make a campfire. I'm freezing to death. If there's a troll nearby, I don't... Okay, I can kill it from here, it's fine. Okay. I think I can make a campfire right here and it'll be fine. Probably just need another restore health potion so I can endure the process of actually making the campfire and getting it to a stable situation. And I don't know if I've already said this or not, but I feel like my way of seeing this is kind of niche. And I understand that. I haven't seen that many other people who approach these games in the same way that I do, and instead treat them as games rather than a space where you can be somebody else in a different place, in a different time, in a universe that obeys completely different rules than what we are normally used to, and follows a completely different logic. Fact of the matter is that over the course of these 14 years, Tamriel has become my second home where I retreat to for a few hours every day, just so I can live another life in this land that I find so much beauty in this land that was crafted precisely for the type of person that I am, someone who likes to express her creativity, who likes to tell stories to herself, which are then retold to people who care to listen. And it's all done in an organic way. Not because the devs wrote a storyline that I am supposed to follow in a certain way, be it branching or linear, but because I, as a as a puppeteer controlling a fictional person, have made decisions according to this person's psyche. And that led me to places. And sometimes, just like in real life, these situations sort of take control of you as well. And this requires not only actually engaging with the game on this deeper level, in which it is no longer a game but a separate secondary world in which you can live in, but it also requires active creative effort on the player's end, right? It requires that you are willing to see, hear, and feel beyond what's written or said in the game's code. It requires that you make up conversations in your mind, that you name nameless NPCs. Uh, this Bosmer ranger that's following me, his name is Erethir, son of Erethor, who, uh, to the few who have watched the second episode of Zaha the Tomb Raider Khajiit, might remember as the Bosmeri thief who had his bow stolen. And in my head, he disavows the dishonorable ways of his father and has traveled to Skyrim to live a more honest life as a ranger, as someone who stakes out the land, carves out paths, and keeps them safe. And we have allied together here during my journey to find silver, since our general professions are so similar. Beyond the unparalleled ability of these worlds to tell stories, there's such an inherent beauty to them. Skyrim is such a beautiful game. Modded, vanilla, doesn't matter. It's beautiful. Few things, as someone who was born in the northern parts of the world, are as beautiful to me as the icy oceans, forests, and tall, rocky mountains covered in snow. Skyrim in particular feels like home to me in more ways than one, as it reminds me of my childhood when I would go with my parents high up in the mountains in Portugal during the winter. And we would we would build snowmen. We would throw snowballs at each other. I remember eating snow once despite everybody telling me not to. I was a young child then. I remember going there once with my now deceased grandma, who I miss very much. And this reminds me of that. We built a snowman on my dad's car hood once, and if my memory does not fail me, he irresponsibly drove around with the snowman blocking his vision for a little bit before we had to dismantle it, much to my dismay. Because, for whatever reason, I have always felt great empathy for inanimate objects, and, you know, dismantling that snowman was kind of like killing it in my eyes before it was time for him to go once the summer came. Morrowind feels like home too, in its weird, alien, ashy, and grassy lands. After all, that's just east of Skyrim, in the same continent, with the same general history and lore, the same ethnicities of people walking around, same races, or whatever you prefer to call them. And as much as I love Morrowind and its richness, and the fact that if I'm being honest, I probably like it a bit more than Skyrim now. There's one thing that is irreplaceable, which is memory and sentimentality, right? Even if playing Morrowind for the first time was very, very similar to playing Skyrim for the first time, though of course with a lot more restraint since I was already an adult by then, and found more enjoyment in actually being part of the world. I love this game. I love this franchise. It means a lot to me. I think it is simultaneously kind of mainstream and extremely underappreciated by its own fandom. Who are more concerned with wacky challenges and just gaming and delving deep into the lore than to actually play the games how they were intended. Though I understand that playing them that way is perhaps a bit much of an ask for um, most people. Considering how demanding a mentality it is, I feel. At least in my opinion. To me it comes naturally, but evidently it doesn't for most folks. And that's okay too. This was just my tribute to the game that changed my life, and the only game I never really stopped playing ever since I first got my hands on it. Even when I wasn't actively playing it. My name is Agnes. This has been another episode of Tales from the Lunar Mirror. Thank you very much if you listened to this point. I got a little bit emotional here, evidently so. Uh, but such is the nature of talking about things that you love and have brought some semblance of meaning to your life, I suppose. I should probably cross the Labyrinthian, it's too cold in here. And I doubt there will be any silver on these parts. I have another episode of Zaha in the oven, for those who care. I just haven't finished recording it. I wanted it to be a bit of a longer episode. I just haven't gotten around to finishing it. I have a not review, but a first impressions video on Death Trash coming up too, which was supposed to come out on Halloween, but my internet hasn't been cooperating very much, so you know, I'm taking my time editing it for that reason. And as I said before, potentially an Arden Fall first impressions is coming out soon as well. This has been my tribute to Skyrim and to the Elder Scrolls franchise as a whole. A bit of a personal video, and I hope it means something to somebody else. Bye bye. See you on the next one, whenever that is.